Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to the channel. I'm once again joined by Joe today, and we are doing a commentary. It's the first commentary I think that you'll have seen from us. We have actually already recorded one for Rose,
Damn YouTube copyright!
and there have been some issues with that, with using the footage and stuff. So this is going to be one of those commentaries where you pull up the episode yourself at home. Well, you don't. Maybe you just listen to us because we're going to be talking about the Star Beast. That's the episode we're doing, as you'll have realised, probably from the title. And we're going to be talking about these two, the lovely new figures released from character options in the 5.5-inch figure range, the 14th Doctor Coatless and the Meep. Kind of reviewing them a bit, talking about them, talking about the episode as well, because, yeah, I think particularly having the Meep has kind of got people nostalgic for that and for that time. Particularly as well with the state of the show at the moment and, like, how this first order of Disney episodes has now ended. It's like, I guess it's a nice full circle moment to kind of go back to the beginning and see how it started, see how things were set up. Was it a good start? Was it a bad start? You know, I suppose, were certain signs there from the beginning or not, kind of thing. What could have been, what should have been, maybe. So yeah, lots of discussion about the Star Beast. Hopefully kind of a bit of a positive one as well. There's a lot of negativity around at the moment
The figure set.
in the fandom, and yeah, like with how things are with Doctor Who. So hopefully a bit of a beacon of hope and light. And on that note, Joe, over to you.
Right, so I will now address the nation. Oh boy. I made a small video, let's say, that for a Doctor Who action figure review kind of went viral on TikTok. The general public initially agreed with me. However, Doctor Who figure collectors and customizers were very quick to go on the defense. I was attacked for my opinions. However, my response to that was unacceptable. I understand that customizers and action figure collectors, to you, this stuff really matters. A bit like the costumes, obviously, to myself. For me to take that away from you was wrong. So I continuously apologize. Right, and depending on how Richard has edited that is going to either sound terrible or fantastic. So it's his fault.
Yeah. Oh boy, yes, you had your own evil Meep moment, but now we're back to Meep again.
Meep.
There we go. So the Star Beast. Should we get into this? Should we give it a go? I guess if we get our episodes lined up, we do a countdown for the viewers at home, and hopefully it'll all
this
go
goes
smoothly.
to plan.
Yeah, we shall see. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Okay, Whoniverse Ident.
This is so strange. The fact they've not because they see this on Disney, don't they?
Oh, do they? The full thing? Because I was going to say, I think, isn't this the only time the full thing appears? I think after this, isn't it just like the shortened version?
Yeah, but still, it has all the faces in, doesn't it? So it's a bit odd.
Once upon a time, Lord. Then. I mean, I feel like we could do a whole hour video just on this
scene
sequence. To be honest, because I watched this back recently when the figure set came out. I think you haven't seen it, have you? So recently.
No.
So I'm a bit more fresh and I've got things to say that I've kind of got in my mind already. I don't know why they did this. Like, everybody has said, the director, Rachel, has said, she said, you know,
it's catch up.
This came later on, it was shot later on, to get viewers up to speed, but
they should have just done the scene with Donna, I think, because with him in like the space vortex, because they don't have the Jodie TARDIS, do they?
No, that's true. So they couldn't have him there. They had to kind of like think on their feet. Green
screen him on.
Strange background.
Oh dear.
Yeah, it's a weird one because you get all this information from the episode itself. I think so. I think it kind of it works like if you were to just start it in this moment in a minute, like with the opening titles and then going into the episode, that'd be fine. But I suppose that also speaks to the status of this episode is like it's the first episode of a new era, but it's also a anniversary special. It's calling to the past, or like continuing a story from the past. So it kind of occupies that weird space. It's not quite a fresh start. It's It's picking
But
up like from 15 years ago. It's
I don't know. I maybe casting David as the 14th Doctor was just a bad idea entirely. Because if this is supposed to be a complete reboot, is it really a good idea having an old face come? Like, you wouldn't bring back Tom Baker in 2005, would you?
no.
So
Yeah, you do wonder about that. I mean, I will say as well, though, from the off, and I think you feel fairly similar to me about this as a whole, ultimately, that I'm very nostalgic for this story. I
I
do
think the
enjoy the
Starbase
vibe
is
of
the
it a
best
lot.
of the three.
Oh,
I
interesting.
think it's
Yeah.
I think it's
I
the
like
best of
it
the three.
more than most. I do. I
Yeah.
think for a long time it was up there as a favourite. I mean,
And here he
each of the
is.
specials for me, in their own way, are great. But
No
yeah,
reason he's landed in Camden. Just he's
no.
there.
And the geography I want to point out as well the geography of this because I've been to this location a few times. So I think it's already happened now. But like the bit where he comes out of the TARDIS and the bit where he is now, completely different areas.
section. Yeah.
Like at the start, he's walking in one direction, and then like
he
he
should be
comes out
walking in
just
the
now,
other.
and he's teleported to a different area that was behind him at that point. It's confusing. Anyway, look on Google Maps, you'll work it out. But this is all very nostalgic as well because we saw this. It was the first things we saw of this era with the public filming. There were like the rough edits, the clips of this that people got, like where you could hear the dialogue because there were passerbys and people, fans at the filming, like filming bits.
I've
So
been
I remember
told,
this dialogue kind of from then.
when
Yeah.
he took the box off, that should have been the original intro. That's what I've been. I don't know how true that is.
Oh, like as in where the titles.
you don't Caesar first. Yeah, the titles would have come
Oh,
in.
okay. Because there is the cut bit here, isn't there? A bit in a moment where
The sonic
the
screwdriver.
Sonic was going to be shown for the first time, and then that's glimpsed, I think, on one of the DVD home media special features.
I wonder if
that's
we'll ever
right as
get
well
the
because that was
deluxe
glimpsed
things.
at filming, wasn't it? And it was like it's so ironic that we got all those blurry photos of the Sonic from filming. And then that scene wasn't in the episode, so like if they hadn't filmed that, we wouldn't have had a clue what it looks like until they actually revealed it. But that was quite fun as well because people were sort of mocking it up and trying to like extrapolate from that image, like like a full 3D model of it, and people kind of wondering what it was going to look like. So that was all quite fun. It was an enjoyable time, like 3 years ago, this time of year, a bit earlier, but yeah, there was a lot going on.
Is it me or has she got less boxes than she did before? She's on about stacking. I'm not being funny. Those boxes sealed. Like, how can you stack boxes?
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised, especially with the cuts and stuff.
Yeah.
So I think the whole, like, if you think about it too hard, the whole premise of this is a bit weird. Like, okay, the Doctor's landed in Camden Market, like a notoriously touristy area,
Attraction.
part of London. Donna is there with Rose, buying like stationery and art supplies, and it's like, why would they live in London, but why would they go there of all places? And it was a nice. I've been there. It's a nice place. It's got a vibe. It's a bit busy, but also that reminds me as well. I was there once. I've been there a few times, and I think the most recent time I was there, the episode had aired, and I actually thought to myself, I'm going to try and see if you can actually buy a bag of eyes in Camden Market. And I think it was with Miles, and I went around the whole area, and like, there wasn't a single shop that had them. Like, it's touristy stuff, basically, like souvenirs and things. And we were walking down the road, and I found a works store. I was like, oh, okay, yes, that is the nearest place that I've found that actually has googly eyes. But so yeah, bit of a plot hole there, Russell. But it's not the worst thing ever. It's you can.
We're already 5 minutes in, and you're picking this to pieces. You're worse than me.
But it's interesting as well, I think, the choice of location, because I think they said on one of the commentaries somewhere that it was one of the Jubilees, wasn't it, for the Queen before she died when this was being filmed.
Yeah, so London was like locked off effectively.
Yeah, because they wanted to get closer into the centre, but they couldn't do that. Hence why they came further out, or slightly further out.
Do you want to know something I've just noticed? So when the 10th Doctor meets Donna, she gets kidnapped by a taxi driver robot Santa. She marries a taxi driver. Like, what about the trauma?
Very true. It's like the way that he just happens to be there as well at that moment. It's like, there's a few coincidences here that are making the plot happen. Now, I remember at the time thinking that this was going to like
play
become a
into
real
later
plot
events
point with units. So far, it's not really happened. Maybe in the War Between.
Yeah, but Lucky Day, you would have expected them like being like, oh, they're dragging people off, they're torturing them, or mind wiping. You know what I mean?
And in the end, that episode, I mean, I still like that episode. It ends up being something different, where like Unit doesn't really get criticised at all, or like any criticisms that are made of them are just like brushed off.
Right, how he's got that fence undone is bullshit. Because that rodding material, like it go from the top to the bottom. So how he's got that off like a panel?
Oh yeah, because it wouldn't be made.
It's clearly a prop.
Yeah. But I love this location as well.
There's all these soldiers just letting him saunter in, like no one has clocked him.
Who are you, mister? Yeah.
Admittedly, he has a face that we'll probably recognise, but my gosh.
Yeah.
And how's this crashed and made a perfect indentation in the roof with barely any rubble around?
Well, as Shirley says, it didn't crash, it parked or whatever it was. I mean...
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, whatever. But I love this location. And like the colour scheme of it all, the palette and everything. Like the blues and the oranges and stuff.
It's an old steelworks, isn't it? Is it a steel?
Yeah, it's a great location. I think in real life it was like a power station. It's doubling as like a steelworks. But I think that and the nighttime, like nocturnal setting of this adds so much as well. But like with The Woman Who Fell to Earth, like, I love that kind of that subgenre of like era openers set at night.
There's not enough episodes actually set at night, is there?
Yeah, I do think, kind of going back to what we were saying at the very beginning, like it's a shame we haven't had more stuff like this since. Where we've had episodes set on Earth, but like. Stuff like that location shoot in Camden, that felt massive at the time, and like I feel we haven't had so much of it's behind closed doors these days, isn't it? Or it has been for the latest episodes. Like just some location shoots in public, like in public locations, or like in London, or like well-known like streets and stuff, or central Cardiff. And yeah, I mean, I suppose you get a bit more of this kind of stuff, like because wasn't this set reused for Belinda's house? I think.
I believe. I think it's one of those sets that they can like cut about, and change walls and stuff.
Yeah.
And then obviously we've got the introduction of Donna's daughter, Yasmin Finney.
Yes.
We've obviously just had the scene of the dead naming of, Rose's original name. I can't remember what language it is, and I can't remember who I saw point it out. Jason is actually a translation, I think, for Doctor in a way.
Yes. I think Russell...
So
that
Donna
himself, maybe. So
obviously calls her Doctor initially,
there was some thought
but
that went
she chooses Rose later on.
Mm-hmm. Which I think you can kind of see the thought process of that. I'm not sure it necessarily comes off as tasteful, but it's there. I want to say as well with this scene, I really enjoy this scene. I love this scene and. All the little bits that have been going on in the background as we've been talking just then, and as they're talking, like of her making the tea and like Silver getting stuff out the fridge. Like again, it's just like the touches that are there, like in the way I suppose this was directed or like mapped out this scene, with her opening the fridge and stuff.
It's really well blocked.
It's
from the direction.
It feels very real and very natural. Yeah.
I also think I know. He got comments about being slightly out of touch with the modern generation. I think this family dynamic with Sylvia actually making that mistake, that's very human because that happens. Like people genuinely don't mean to, obviously, like use the incorrect pronoun. They try their best to adjust.
Yeah.
But I think where this ultimately came from, I think it came from a place of care. However, the execution later on is a bit iffy, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll get on to that. I mean, not to get too far ahead, because I've seen people, kind of point that out, obviously, when the episode went out and since then as well. When I watched it most recently, a week or two ago, I wasn't sure how I'd find it. And I actually thought, okay, then, like, it's a bit clumsy, but it's kind of... Again, I can sort of see the thought process of this, which I'm sure we'll talk about when it happens. Like I had something lovely and it's gone. The memes.
Just another man. Oh dear.
It's like when I wake up after a night out or something, you know.
And you've completely forgotten and just gone.
Hmm.
Oh, bless her.
And there are so many of these little clips as well, these shots and these bits of dialogue,
Used
or
for the
like in
trailers.
the trailers, weren't they? Yeah, it's like they go back such a long way, like in the mind.
You know, so this child acting isn't terrible. Kudos to
I
this
love his
kid.
glee, like when he's like, "Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, oh my god," I love that stuff.
it's
And I want
not
to say as well
horrific.
the score. I mean, I've praised already the whole vibe of this episode. I mean, stuff like this with like the escape pod, like in the little playing field or whatever, and the emergency vehicles in the background. But I think that the score adds a lot to it as well, and I think this is one of
Yeah.
Murray's better ones. I suppose with all these things, it's like at the start of the era, for any era, that there's a bit more money. Okay, but maybe they're still working things out a bit as well, like with Series 1. But I think in certain cases like this one as well, a lot of the best stuff, kind of in terms of the effects and the music, and because they've got more time and they're not like all tired yet, and you know they're not all sick and tired of it. So like, I think the Meep is a great example of that because like they put so much money into that character, and
Oh,
yeah, it's kind of
absolutely.
revolutionary at the time, wasn't it? Like all the CGI
Well, I think there was
augmentations and the
3
extra
to
bits and
4
pieces.
meeps. I think there was different types of meeps as well. Like obviously there's
Yes.
2 different heads, but I think the costume there was a few different versions, like someone with one inside, and I think one where
Yeah.
it's just like half a costume.
Yeah, some are more kind of detailed than others, like for
Yeah.
different types of shots and stuff. But it's so seamless. It's great. Um, and then
Oh,
obviously
these look
the other alien
This
creatures.
is the
What do you
dopey
think?
bit of the episode. Yeah, I think the Wrath Warriors don't look
I
as
think the
good. I think they're
voices don't really help. I think that is something that maybe goes back to the original comic, where they sound a bit different, but like that's how
I
you'd
think they should be a
expect.
bit more serious. You know, to like, 'cause
Yeah,
not everyone's going to have read the comic to get the twist across later
yeah.
on.
I'm not sure about the voices. That's one thing I will agree on.
Is that a massive scene? This stupid sonic screwdriver.
Oh,
That
but I
is
love this as
honestly,
well. I mean,
this
well,
is
yeah.
horrible.
I don't have the
Like,
Sonic so much, but but the little bit in the score here with the Doctor's theme in the background, and again just the vibe of this, the vibe of him like hiding away from Unit as well, and just like being in the shadows a bit more. And as we're about to see
After
with Shirley when she comes into it, I think this is one of, or probably like her best episode. I think recently she's just not been as good. I think
utilized
no,
as much.
and I think a lot of the recent stuff, again, you can kind of see the thought process sometimes, but I feel like sometimes with this character, they focus on her disability so, or like
Too much.
every other line that she says is something about her disability, and I just think sometimes that's a bit heavy handed. Whereas in this episode, you have stuff like when the soldier makes the remark about her not being able to get up the steps or whatever, and that feels natural, if you know, and she has character beyond that, like in this scene. Like you feel that she's like a scientist and that she's got a brain on her shoulders. Whereas I think since this, she's been a bit more of a kind of comic relief character, and the disability thing, yeah, it's not necessarily always felt natural. I think it's a shame that like they have to constantly kind of bring up, like with Conrad and Lucky Day, like talking about her disability and stuff. It's a shame that kind of stuff, it feels like it bogs her down a bit, like the kind of negative
Well,
characters
it should have been
being
part of the
negative
story.
to her about her disability kind of thing.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think there should have been. I think it would have been really interesting if Russell had written a conflict between you have one side of this with Yasmin, Finney, and Shirley, where in Conrad's world they'll blink out of existence, but you've got Melinda saying, "Yeah, but if this world blinks out of existence, I lose my child." So you could have had a great internal conflict where each of them have valid points for about both realities
which
still
is kind
existing.
of hinted at, but it doesn't
Yeah,
really go anywhere.
but
does
it's
it?
not
Yeah.
explored, is it? It's just completely
The
shelved.
conflict between those two
Yeah.
things. Because again, actually, I was watching or rewatching Years and Years recently, Russell's drama from like 6 years ago now, I think, 2019. But Ruth is in that, Ruth Madley, and she's fantastic in that. And I was watching that back and thinking, why has she not had like this much to do in Doctor Who? I know she was, she had other jobs on the go for season 1, so she couldn't be in season 1. But like in the episodes that she has been in since Star Beast, I just don't think she's had enough time or
Or
chance
been
to
given
shine.
justice.
Really, been given the rights to the material. which is a shame. Because she's brilliant here.
And
The way she's set up is fantastic.
is she in War Between the Land and Sea?
Yes. So I guess
Right, well,
maybe there.
so hopefully there'll be something in there.
Yeah.
And this is where he's now going to sneak into a van with the soldiers once again not seeing him, and somehow magically get driven to the magical location the Meep's at.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And in terms of coincidences as well, the fact that the Meep's escape pod lands right near Donna's house and then comes to Donna's house, literally like in the alleyway, like the same people that saw the ship crash, you know, in Camden. There's that kind of layer to it as well.
I know we're getting on a bit to like future episodes, but shouldn't have this been like part of the toy maker's plans? Like he was pulling the strings, like all these. They could have argued all these coincidences. Like maybe also in Wild Blue Yonder, they needed the Doctor to be out of the picture so he could manifest himself. You know what I mean? So a bit more, because how cool would it have been to see a pan up to the toy maker with a flashback of having Donna spilled the coffee over the TARDIS console at the end of this story?
Yeah.
Just saying.
Well, I remember people saying that at the time, like, oh, is he going to be pulling the strings? Is it going to be like Moriarty and Sherlock, where he's there briefly in every single episode, kind of in the shadows,
in the background,
and you see him properly in the third one.
Because I know a lot of people in the trailer thought that's what this was, you know, him breaking through the universe, this effect of the psychedelic sun.
Yeah.
I'd be like, yo, I'm getting out of here.
Yeah. Like, the look of these soldiers as well, like the psychedelic sun thing. I love that. Like, someone's done a really cool kit, I think, recently, haven't they? Of like figure kit of one of those soldiers. And yeah, I just again, just like the whole vibe of this, I love it. It's just great.
Yeah, characters should totally release one with a Wrath Warrior.
Yeah. Well, they've got that Primeval sculpt, haven't they? They could kind of maybe do something with that, perhaps.
And reuse it. I know it's not quite the same, but...
Can you add maybe with the visor down or whatever?
As the kids say, at least it's something new.
Little Meep. Oh, because of course, I think this, or in a moment, this was like the clip they released, wasn't it, beforehand? With that kind of Disney-ish kind of score in the background as well. I remember at the time thinking with the Meep, because we all knew the twist because of the comic and it was all out there. I wondered beforehand, like with this bit here, where the Meep is scared of Rose pulling the tummy out of the stuffing out of the toy. So wouldn't it be really cool if, like, there is the twist that the Meep is evil, but actually it's not evil, or it backtracks, it finds goodness again in itself somehow, and like it ends up like being the noble's pet. They could adopt it, like a bit like how they adopt the 14th Doctor in The Giggle.
Oh my god!
I thought that would have been a really nice way, and you could have done a nice kind of parallel there.
So a twist for the
trans
twist
thing with Rose, and I think that's something that doesn't go anywhere. Where they bond here, you know, her and the Meep, and then later on when the Meep turns evil, you get the line about, oh, your stupid child or your weird child to Donna. But there's not a moment where Rose gets to properly, like, have it out with the Meep and, like, kind of come, you know, on top kind of thing, which I think is a missed opportunity. I can see why, because so much of this had to be focused on David and Catherine. But I think that aside as well, I think Rose is at her best here. I mean, there's not a lot of competition since. But I think the way that she's written, and you know, for the most part, I think works really well, and you believe her. You believe her more here than like when she's in units later.
Yeah, but that's Russell's fault, not writing enough. I'm sorry. This is his biggest like criminal offence.
Well, it's that kind of thing of, oh, like, I enjoyed working with you. Come back.
Yeah.
We'll bend the rules to make it work. Like, oh, you can have a desk at units. Like, who cares whether you're not actually an adult yet? Like, we'll bend the rules.
But it's important to do representation right, isn't it? And not just pull all these characters in for the sake of it, because that's just as bad, in my opinion. You know. Yeah.
And it's a shame, because there was a potential here to do more with her, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Or to do more that was actually kind of substantial and
Well,
not just like
why didn't
a
they
few
make
lines here and
Rose
there. And
the companion to 15?
wow, a lot of people were saying that at the time, weren't they? Like before Ruby
Like
came onto the scene. Yeah.
Millie Gibson, awful actress. Yasmin Finney has so much more potential than her. Unpopular opinion, but
Throw it out there, why not? Meep meep. I love this as well, like the whole
way they look, they're just like
this situation is just getting like worse and worse, like
Worse.
by degrees each time.
ah!
And you wonder like how they're gonna get out of this, because like everything is converging on this house, this avenue,
house.
this road. Yeah. China Madras. But even
I'm
stuff
not
like this
being
as well,
funny.
like with world building, with unit, it doesn't feel like we've. Obviously, we get the big unit office later on, don't we? And like, that set and everything, and the characters. But like, little glimpses of other like squadrons like this, with like, that Major Singh, I think it was just then, and this guy. Like, it would be nice to have a bit. Maybe in the spin-off we'll get this as well. Like, it would be nice to have a bit more of that, where we see different unit teams out and about
Factions
doing different
almost.
stuff. Yeah, on missions and
And the way they
things.
maybe deal with things is differently.
Hmm.
So like a Kate team could be quite, harsh and like just kill it. Because that's
Yeah.
where they seem to be leaning her character. And then maybe you could have like a Divulsion
Yeah.
team led by Shirley
Yeah,
Ann
that's
Bingham.
true. Yeah,
That could be a more softer touch.
like the rebels or something.
Yeah.
A splinter group.
Where's your Wonga?
So this is the first time, I suppose, that we've seen this version of the 14th Doctor, isn't it? Without the
Oh,
coats,
blimey, O'Reilly.
with the inaccurate, I forget the inaccurate
Arms.
sleeves, obviously.
His
but,
arms are too long.
his sleeves are too long. Yeah.
I can
But,
understand though, because if say they did pull certain reference material, you don't really see these, do you?
No, that's true.
So
I've just noticed as well.
Yes.
So his button is undone there. His top button, is that something they?
I think that is
Oh,
accurate. Yeah,
Yeah, that is on the figure. Is it always?
I
like
don't think
that?
the
Does he
buttons-
always wear it like
It's
that?
always
With the top
undone,
button
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I think this because I've specifically done the tie to this, not for this episode. The tie switched a few times between episodes, like the way it's done up. It's the same type and knot. It's just which tail end is on which side of you when you tie it. The tie
Right.
in Star Beast is a lot scruffier and lower down, so you can actually see the next button down on the shirt sometimes.
Okay.
So he wears it really loose for some reason.
Interesting. I mean, I should say as well, for anybody that's not seen our first video together, our breakdown of the 14th Doctor's costume, Joe's brilliant screen accurate replicas. Go and check that out. And of course, as well, like the Meep figure is accurate to this scene onwards, isn't it? Because it has the bandage on all the right
Figures.
hands. So technically, yes, it's accurate.
Which
to
I
the
think
scene,
was the
everything
right
afterwards.
choice, really.
Yeah,
I think putting the
a
bandage
scene
on.
with it would have been nice just to have one hand with the cut without the bandage, just so you could like recreate that first scene as well. I think, but yeah,
Also, rather annoyingly, on the 14th Doctor figure, because you've just seen quickly, his waistcoat should have his shirt untucked at the back. Now, they did prototype it like that. I can't remember who sculpted it, but there's actually a little shirt tuck on the back
yes,
from
I'm guessing it would
years
have
ago.
been Ed from character,
Yeah.
maybe Ed Barnett Ward. But I think I remember seeing that when they had the 3D
Yeah.
scans or whatever, or the models. Yeah, that's a shame. Because isn't there a thing with
This is just brilliant.
with this figure? It's like the underneath they're exactly the same, and this one just has the coat like literally super glued or stuck on top.
I think so, yeah.
I've seen that where there's not even like a plug or a socket in the back. It's just they're literally the same, yeah, on the torso. Interesting figure trivia there. So Sonic Shield's opinions.
Stupid. I get it's to go, oh, look, kids. It does things. We're going to sell this. It's going to be amazing.
You see, I don't mind it, and I think again the score sells it here, and
I think that's quite nice when he hands it to her and she
Yeah.
grabs it instinctively but looks at it. I think that's
Oh, yeah.
a really nice bit of acting
Nice
where
touch.
it's like
but it's a thing of like how are they going to get out? Like everything has converged on this house.
on this house.
On all sides, they've got people shooting. I can forgive like a bit of contrivance there, and then even the way they go into the attic as well. It's daft, but again, it kind of works. It's a nice little
We're
a
never going to
nice way
see
of
it
doing
again,
it, I think.
though. Like, you just know we're never going to see this feature again.
No, but that again, it comes back to that thing, doesn't it? Of like, oh, this is the first episode of the era. They have the money at this point. And then obviously this Sonic only lasts for like a few episodes. Like, it wouldn't have felt right, I don't think, to have done the Shields with Shooty Sonic.
Oh, no, I don't know.
It would have been weird, but
Tell you, she ain't getting a mortgage back, is she?
the Wrath. And again with the Wrath, when they have their wings and a few shots here as well, it's like, yeah, you can tell they really had the money at this point. They threw everything into these alien creatures. It's like with the Moxie Balhoon and Cassandra, I suppose, in Series 1. It's like, oh, let's have a few aliens that we can really launch this era with. Like, really good designs. We're going to make them really nice.
It's just a shame. They didn't release any toys.
Yeah, I mean, that is the one thing, or, well, the one main thing I'd say about these two is that, you know, it'd been really nice to have them earlier. Like, this time last year or 18 months ago, or, you know.
And before you all start criticizing and gaining your pitchforks and being like Joe's off on another tangent, no, it is a fact, because this guy in his coat, this came at the end of 2022, didn't it? Have I got that right? Even for specials,
it was less than a month after Power of the Doctor that it came out.
So if they had so much reference material, where was he?
Yeah, it makes you think. They'd only filmed this stuff in like May of that year, hadn't they? So that
Yeah,
would have been like a 6 month or less turnaround for that. That's kind of wild. Yeah.
maybe this just wasn't as successful as they thought it was going to be.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I suppose they would have pitched stuff and mocked stuff up, and, you know, for the best case scenario, but perhaps there wasn't a demand for it. Well, I guess we can assume there wasn't a demand.
It's rumoured a 60th anniversary wave of 6 figures was going to go to retail. However, that didn't happen. Now, whether we ever see some of those figures would be interesting, but that is all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I mean, I think, because I did a photo the other day of all the figures from this era, or like from the 14th and 15th Doctor's eras so far from RTD2. And like at the moment, it's quite nice because you can fit them all into one photo, or like one square photo on Instagram. But looking at that and like the 14th Doctor stuff in particular, we've got the TARDIS already, or we've got the TARDIS re-release coming this year, obviously. I think a Wrath Warrior would be really nice. We've seen the prototype already. Really nice to kind of complete that Star Beast set to complement the Meep. I think Wild Blue Yonder, it would have been nice to have a Knot thing, you know, with the arms and stuff, but I'm not sure that's going to happen. And I don't think
might still happen yet. They might do a Knot thing, 14th Doctor and Donna.
It feels like the thing that, like, that's the customizer's domain almost, like, because people have already done that, haven't they, with designing arms and stuff. But I think a Wrath Warrior, a toy maker,
Gallifrey Customs comes to mind, who's an incredibly talented creator.
Yeah. No, totally. But I think a Wrath Warrior and a toy maker would kind of complete that set. I would be happy with that. I could kind of live with that as like
the 14th anniversary era.
Yeah, like on the shelf and stuff.
I would like a toy maker at a push, but it's too late.
Which costume would you do? Because I think I would just do the in the shop, you know, the
I'm going to give character options
outfit.
The blueprint to making this figure. Because the toy maker, admittedly, he wears cufflinks and this would drive me crazy. Use the 14th Doctor arms, paint on the armbands, do a new waistcoat on this guy.
Yeah.
And then I'd basically reuse something like the Master's legs maybe or something. If that, because then the arms you could easily put into a new torso that would connect to like the Master arms. Or something like the Tom legs, mate. I don't know, just something with a wider cut of trouser.
It feels like something that isn't a million miles away. Like they could reuse Professor Yarn.
New torso,
or like
new head. It could be done.
Bits of it, yeah. And actually, I'm going to stop there because of
the recording time.
Silence in Court. This was nice at the time as well because we'd seen so much of this publicly in terms of location filming, and I think it had got out that they'd filmed in like a car park in Wembley for some reason.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, obviously we knew the twist was coming with the meat, but we didn't know exactly how that was going to like
Where?
unfold and where it was going to be. It's a nice location. This, like, a courtroom in a car park. It's quite cool.
Do you want to know that the only thing that's a bit odd on this, the lighting, because I believe this was shot in the daytime, so there was a lot more natural light for this, and obviously they've graded it, so the rafts look a little weird.
Okay. Interesting.
It's why the meat kind of has like a blue hue to him in this.
Hmm.
You know, in these scenes. You know, it looks more blue than white.
Yeah, yeah. You see, again here with
like
this
CBeebies.
backstory, yeah, with this backstory to the Meep, I kind of thought, like, yeah, like I was saying, it would be a nice thing to make the Meep ultimately a sympathetic character. Like, if all this stuff had stood, like, oh yeah, like Meep kind was hunted, and the Meep still like turned evil or wasn't exactly an angel themselves, but like, yeah, at the same, just a bit more nuance would have been quite nice, I think, to like, rather than it just being like from here on, oh well, the Meep is evil and that's it, and everything else from beforehand has kind of gone out the window. Like, presumably all that stuff with Rose was acting and stuff, but like, at the time it seems quite genuine. So it would have been nice if there was a way to kind of keep those two things simultaneously, but I don't know. Oh, to hell with this.
Exhibit C. Stand against me, just die!
Yeah,
Me
Stung
with
gun.
the Doctor Who customizers for a brief moment.
Little evil head. Yeah. Yes. Oh boy.
We're over it though, I think.
Yeah. And then they kind of leave the plot now for like the next 20 minutes or so, like the Noble family. I mean, they're sort of there. They go with them to the Steelworks, but
You know, that would be a really cool
increasingly
function.
more about the Doctor.
You know, if they were to have to do a toy of these, it'd be a really cool function, you know, like the Sutek to have light up eyes.
with the Wrath.
Yeah, so you could present them as dead. That's quite morbid, but I mean, he's got his gun.
Yeah. This is a bit contrived as well, like, oh, like, keep me alive kind of thing. But again, I'm happy to go with it because
It's Doctor Who just bullshitting for the sake of bullshitting.
you can't
isn't
lose
it?
the new Doctor like 30 minutes
So
into
quickly.
this first episode.
Just turns into Shooty Atler immediately.
Yeah, to just knock him out, that's enough. The score here again, I think it's great. All this stuff.
Where am I?
In a
Me
van.
waking up in a bin after a night out. And the city council woman looking at me.
Do you have any strong feelings about the way that Donna doesn't like recognize him immediately, or you know, because I think some people have said, oh, like
It's done
it's a bit
narratively,
weird.
isn't it?
It's a narrative thing. That's right. It does
Like-
contradict slightly the previous thing of, oh, like if
Her
she
mind
ever-
burning and all that.
Yeah, it's like if she
jargon.
ever remembers me, she will die. Whereas I think originally it was more like, well, if my name is mentioned, or if she sees, or like
It's like
you
a
know,
key to a
like,
lock.
when
It just
she
unlocks
sees the
a
masters,
floodgate.
the master race,
Yeah.
at the time, it's like that's enough.
Yeah. That's a trigger, and that's not even the Doctor. She didn't
Yeah,
even meet the
and
master,
if
so
exactly, if that logic was applying here, like as soon as she saw the meat, it would have been game over. But then you can't get a story out of that and sustain a story without bending that logic somewhat. So
I
it
think for the
doesn't bother me.
narrative
It's like it's
has
okay.
been done, but this was just stupid. Like, and I will stand
lottery
by
thing.
this. The 14th Doctor thing is the most stupid mistake Doctor Who have ever made to relaunch the new era.
Okay,
I will go
wow.
out and say that. Also, David Tennant's just irritating the hell out of me at the moment. He's on everything. He uses the same English accent. He can't act. Man, just retire already.
Crikey. Wow. Okay. Well, we got a nice costume out of it at least, didn't we?
Yeah, true. I'll give him that. I tell you what, you're going to get some right comments now. But that's the thing. This is all for content. Do I actually mean that or don't I?
Who knows? Hasn't Gallifrey Customs or someone made the Meep's throne as well, I think, as like a custom thing?
I think so, yeah.
Like a compatible thing with the figure, which again is a really nice thing. It's really nice. And the escape pod that one of Al's friends has made as well, that you can like 3D print yourself or buy. It's really nice to have that kind of stuff. Like obviously characters aren't going to do that themselves, but it's nice that people are making that stuff so that you can still have it in your collection in a way.
That is a good thing on Al's part, because I wonder if, without admitting it, that's Al's way of being like, right, this set's pricey, but here's a little extra thing for yourselves to print off. You know what I mean? Like, not quite an apology, but just a thank you for, purchasing this.
Kind of thing.
Yeah. Because you have to admit, out of the box, you don't really get a lot. Because I'm going to be honest, I think the third Doctor set, a review coming to you very soon, and I'll probably be criticised for, I think you get a lot more in here. An electronic toy, a figure, and a couple of bits. While this is just a figure, half a figure. And
it is interesting, yeah. I mean, I'm happy to pay those prices. I have to accept that's kind of what we have to pay for these things now. I sort of see where you're coming from though, and like, because with this most recent set, it's basically the 14th Doctor and like a glorified accessory in terms of the Meep. Like, obviously, I don't mean that. Like the Meep has been sculpted and a lot of love has been put into it. But in terms of the size of what you get there, in terms of the amount of plastic and stuff, it's like, I mean, it's basically as big as, or a little bit bigger than a kind of 3.75-inch figure. Like, and it's bigger, isn't it? But it's
I can back this up with evidence if people want
screenshots. More in
screenshots.
common with them than the bigger stuff. Yeah.
I asked 12 mums while conducting my research if they buy this for their child. They said no. And ultimately, these are toys. The box says 5+. As well as being like a collector's market, it's still a toy. You know what I mean? So for that money, do you get the correct play value?
The kids they're not really trying to sell them to kids, though, are they? They've kind of given up on that now. It's like, they're trying to sell them to collectors.
There's only so long this can continue.
Well, we have our CBBS show coming, so they can tap into the CBBS market in 2027. Yeah, for the time being, the collectors can just buy them instead. I sort of get that, like, kind of that sense of like borrowed time, or in the sense that this toy range has been running now for like 20 years. There's a lovely book coming very soon about it all as well, cataloguing it all, and it's like, yeah, okay, they're using the same sculpts, they're using the same legs from the 10th Doctor, from the original figures. It's like they're trying to maintain a continuity with that range. And on the one hand, that's great. I can see the argument, is it perhaps like time to give it to someone else, or, to do something different? And I suppose one day, ultimately, that's going to happen. Like, one day, ultimately, the range will come to like a definitive end. But I do think ultimately it's nice to have that through line. You've got all these figures and they're all the same scale, give or take. Like 15th Doctor was a bit small, on the small side. But like, yeah, that continuity there and that through line, the fact that we got these figures as a kid and we can still buy them now and they still fit. It's not like a different scale or like an inch too high or that kind of thing. Yeah, I suppose they're doing their best, aren't they, with like what they've got. Their hands are sort of somewhat tied. The demand isn't quite there in the same way anymore, which is an understatement. But at least they can kind of appease the collectors and make.
I do think mistakes have been made along the way, though.
I mean, they've taken quite a while to adapt this new model, haven't they? Like the collector's model, like inspired by the Black Series or whatever Star Wars stuff is. I don't know, but like that feels a little bit late. I'm glad they're doing it now. But yeah, there have been a few misfires along the way, and like with the Collector Series in America in 2015 and stuff, and we had the B&M era obviously for a long time. I do want to say as well, actually, back to the episode itself, that shot just there of the steelworks is really funny because in the distance you can see the sea, or like a river. I think it's a river that goes into the sea. Because it's Yeah, and I think it is the sea actually because it's in Newport, like on the coast, not far
Yeah.
from the lighthouse from Fugitive of the Lagoon. Um, and so yeah, that's one of those things. I like if you know your locations, it's like, hang on a minute, why? What's
Is
the
there a
sea
sea
doing
in London?
in London? I suppose it's the River Thames or something. You can make it
But
work.
that's also selling the fact it's a power station because you need a power station. They're typically near the coastal line, and the reason is so they can pull in the water for the cooling system.
Ah, there we go. There we go.
I don't think I've bullshitted there. I think that is
I
a
hope
fact.
not.
I really hope that is a fact.
Yeah. Mm.
But I think they tend to be closer to, either river sources or water sources.
Mm.
This bit's a bit shit, I think.
Oh, interesting. Like with the whole Westerly Pelican Dreams thing.
Yeah, I'm just like
I like it. I'm a sucker for it. I
I
found
thought
it
you'd
quite
taken some
emotional like,
drugs.
at the time when it first played out because Russell had mentioned those words like Westerly Pelican Dreams in his columns in Doctor Who magazine as like, oh, here's a word that's in the Starbeast script or special one, how they're calling it at the time, and it's the way that came together and that sequence of words and then ending on binary binary binary, taking it all the way back. It just for me it takes you back to like watching that as a child, Your Journey's End. It's goofy, it's silly, it's like out of context.
She should just know who he is, though, just looking at him. It should just be, oh, that's that random man that kidnapped me for a year. You know what I mean?
Yes, but dramatically this is more interesting, I think. And it allows them to just stretch it out a bit more and again the score here as well. It just adds to that moment, I think. It's a proper moment. I mean, the regeneration thing is a bit dumb. And it's kind of funny as well how
what is this? Like, what am I
well, it's kind of funny
watching?
how that is like more like a traditional regeneration than what we've had since with Shooty, isn't it? And David with the bi-generation. Like that's the most
What, without
traditional
Shooty's
regen
electric
in this
effects
era,
coming off him?
where it was like an angel, like just suspended there in space,
Looking at the Star of Bethlehem, quite literally.
Oh my god! But yeah, I enjoy this and the way it evokes that original thing. Well, the whole thing with Wilf in the end of time as well, like the separation of the two characters. One thing I
think this
will
bit's a bit
say,
bad as well.
well, one thing I will say is that in a moment when the score starts to evoke "I am the Doctor,"
I'm the Doctor.
I don't like that. And it's kind of vague enough to not actually be "I am the Doctor." Like people said, "Oh, "I am the Doctor" is back. This is a sign that Matt Smith is in Wild Blue Yonder," and like it's not exactly the same, but it's similar enough. And I suppose it's the start of something that Murray's been doing recently throughout this era, where
Reusing tracks, being lazy,
yeah,
phoning
sort
it
of
in.
just kind of whether reusing actual music or literally the same tracks as we get later on. But again, the beauty of this, because it's the first episode, the start of the era, they've got more money. Everything in this, in terms of the score, is new or newly
Pretty
recorded.
new, yeah.
So it's like, yeah, it still feels fresh at this point. I think that
Also,
bit's
this
a bit
is
dumb, to be honest. That a
Yeah.
bit goofy. Best 55 seconds of my life. And then when she does the Donald Noble is descending thing as well, that's a little bit kind of like, okay, not quite sure about that. This one.
Well, this is the bit I don't get. So, right. London's all fine.
Okay.
For some reason, the cracks disappear. The cracks seal up. Like, what's going on here? Like, why does it...
Hey, it's working.
Yeah, like, I don't get it. Then she apparently dies and then doesn't die. Like, why does
Well,
she
that's where
pass
the
out?
rose thing comes into it, isn't it, I suppose? If we're getting onto that.
But why have they done like a faux death here? Like, shouldn't she just be fine if the logic is it's been passed down to Rose? Just a
It's
little
to-
bit confusing.
pad it out, mine it for all it's worth in terms of the emotion and stuff. It's like, it's hilarious as well how that line was in the trailers about why did this face come back to say goodbye or whatever.
It's in episode
And it's
one.
like people take it out of context and think, oh my god, like this massive mystery about why this face came back, and then that, in actual fact, in execution, like that is where that line comes. That's where it falls, and it's like, oh, okay, that's all it was, kind of thing.
when I've finally
Do you
taken down character options.
Found you, Joe.
Yeah. I mean, this bit is quite
here we
nice. I
go
just
with
wish they
Rose.
gave Yasmin Finney more to do.
Yeah. I kind of forgotten that she gets to flick the switches at least. That's something.
That's something.
And again, playing on the what thing, which we've had umpteen times now. Yeah, you see, so I actually I like this in principle. I think some of the execution with it is a little bit clumsy, and I can see where people come
I
from
think
when
it's
they
towards
say
the
that.
end of the story where it's a bit clumsy.
Yeah,
This bit, I
it's
don't
well intentioned,
mind.
and it's
Because it's
and
like
it's a nice thing how it's kind of for an year anniversary special. It's kind of like, I suppose, saying to like Doctor Who's trans fans and queer fans, of which there are a lot. It's like, oh, like, we see you, and it's kind of like,
and the inclusivity.
it's acknowledging the fact that they exist, and like, yeah, that thing of how it's almost like part of the Doctor's identity that's been passed down through Donna. It's like it's kind of saying, oh, like this, yeah, this is kind of intrinsic to what this show is, and like it's part of the Doctor as well, kind of thing. Which I think is a nice, a neat idea. This is a bit dumb. The whole thing with the toys. And why is Carvanista in there?
Why haven't they taken advantage of this for plushies? Keep plushies character options. My goodness.
Well, they're probably like really bespoke props, weren't they? Like made by the art department, and it's like, oh, we can't recreate this very easily. But yeah, I mean, that would have been great. Perhaps the CBeebies show, that's what they need to do. They don't need to have those plushies. Like,
but as I
never
say,
mind the monsters, just have the plushies.
I think the Rose bit here is nice, but the explanation to how, like, I just think the way Donna gets reawoken should have been reworked. It just didn't work.
That line there, jam on toast.
Yeah,
put it in the bin.
I didn't get.
It's like what?
Yeah, that's awful.
It's like what? You see, actually, so that flicking the switch there, Rose could have done that.
Yeah, exactly. Could have finished him off.
Yeah, finish the Meep off, put him into
he dies
space.
or something.
Like, but I do just feel that, and particularly with the whole thing, because the pronoun thing is brought up with the Meep as well, it just feels like there's a missing kind of link there.
Component here.
Yeah, with the Meep and with Rose, and that's how if the Meep had turned into a sympathetic character, ultimately it might have brought it back round, and but the way it is just feels a little bit weird. Like, I suppose they've made a point of this really and the pronouns with this character, and they just end up being this really two-dimensional evil character.
I could be out of touch here speaking this, but having the Meep go, actually, my pronoun is a typical pronoun, and actually reverting and going, then is being evil, couldn't that have been a better message to be like, then the stupid child line for the Meep to say that would have made sense, and then the Meep's being horrible, and then it gives it this extra air of villain to it because it's emotionally manipulated this kid.
I think I got that. Yeah.
You get what I mean? That was a really long way of explaining it.
I think so. Yeah, I suppose there are layers to it, aren't there? Like,
yeah.
Ultimately, it's one of those things.
Because it feels a bit odd to have a character with pronouns that are different to what the norms would be by old a million years ago. Like, as a villain, I think that's a bit.
That's what I was kind of getting at, maybe.
Yeah.
There might be a more nuanced way of doing that.
Way of doing it.
Because as I was saying, it feels like in those early scenes, it does kind of like understand Rose, and it's like there is kind of that likeness between them, and that just like goes out the window. Like, oh, I was just playing you along. I was just pretending, kind of thing. It would have been nice if they could have maintained that somehow by having the Meep kind of come back round full circle, but. And then back to Camden. It is never that empty in real life. Never.
No.
Every time I've been, there are people everywhere taking photos and including me with my location photos and everything.
But you never know, the Meep might have killed them all. They might have all slipped down the crack of time or whatever. It's trapped in hell.
Maybe.
With Rogue.
The hell dimension. With Chaucer.
Why is that just like a future episode he has written?
You just know that Big Finish will do it. It's like,
Yeah.
there we go, pitch done. Yeah. And actually, watching this back as well, it kind of, in context, it makes a bit more sense that Wilf crops up at the end of Wild Blue Yonder. Because I remember at the time, I knew it was coming because of the publicity and the location stuff. They hadn't formally announced it. But at the time, that feels a bit weird, how we have this adventure in space, 55 minutes or whatever it is, and then we just come back to Wilf, and it feels a bit tacked on. And particularly because they were, well, by all accounts, they weren't able to film more stuff with him that they planned to film with him for the giggle. But yeah, I think when you watch them in order back, it's like, oh, okay, like, yeah, they wanted to go and see him at this point, so it makes sense that they get there eventually. Even if they do, like, just literally come back round to the same point in order to see him again. Like, yeah, but...
I don't know. I think it's, once again, you got to take the health into consideration.
Yeah,
and I think
like what's possible and what's practical.
I think Wilf's Camden bits were the first bits shot. I think they were actually shot before these bits. I could be wrong on that. But I think some of Bernard's stuff was actually shot quite early on.
All the Camden stuff was pretty much shot, I think.
In one can.
Second week, I think. I think the first week was all in the house, pretty much, give or take. Second week was all the public stuff that we saw.
One thing I will say, I've changed my opinion on this set. I think it's awful. I think it's too big.
Right.
It just looks very empty.
Yeah, I mean...
Has very little personality.
This is one of its better scenes.
Yeah.
With all the lights and stuff. And they play on that a bit later on, don't they, in future episodes. And the reveal is a really nice, joyous moment. And again, the score adds to that. And their acting. And David running around. I do think, yeah, that there's a bit of a thing of like, to paraphrase the 13th Doctor in the Reality War, like in a room defined by its bigness, like they seem obsessed with making it like really bigger on the inside, like much, much, much bigger. And even though it doesn't actually affect the way we watch these episodes, personally, my biggest issue with this set, I think, is the fact that it's not a 360 set. Like you see in the behind-the-scenes stuff.
The Capaldi stuff one was a 360, wasn't it?
Well, like the original RTD1 era set, it's only like half a set,
it's
basically,
a stage
like
set,
2/3 kind of thing. Yeah, which I suppose allows them to get different camera angles and stuff without having to remove too many walls, like with the Capaldi set. But I do think, you had the Capaldi set, the Jodie set as well. They were both like fully immersive 360 sets, and I just think actually that is kind of more important than the size of it, and the engineering and like doing all these wacky things with all the walls and.
Well, I think the Capaldi TARDIS is the best one. It feels lived in. It's got an armchair. It's got bookcases. It's got his desk underneath the top.
And you're just missing a bit of that with this, aren't you? And it's like there's not even any way that you could put stuff because the space is basically just like ramps and walkways and the walls, and that's it.
I'd have hung Shooty's clothes off of all the rails, to be honest. I would have just had the TARDIS filled with bloody clothes. It would have been so expensive. Nightmare. Yeah. But you get what I mean, just to add.
Yeah.
And the jukebox that appears later on, when does that get used?
Yes.
Other than Ruby listening to it at the beginning of The Devil's Chord.
Stupid. Yeah.
Oh, what could have been?
Having a coffee. I remember with this as well, like when I'm assuming like me, you saw all the leaks beforehand about the specials, and at this point, I think it's when people realised, it's all true, because one of the first things it said is, Donna spills coffee on the TARDIS at the end of Special 1, that takes us into Special 2, and there's that kind of realisation when that happens that, okay, so Bi-Generation is true then, like, here we go.
Yeah,
get ready.
It was acceptance. It was okay.
It wasn't a question.
They are going to really poorly introduce a new Doctor.
I do think that cliffhanger as well. I love the premise of it. Like, we're ending with like
we could go
anywhere in time and space, like for an anniversary special. But the way it cuts to the titles and everything, and it's such an abrupt ending. It's like. It's a bit sudden, the way it just stops. It goes into the titles. Well, that was the Star Beast. Lots of stuff said there, hopefully. Interesting stuff. I mean, overall thoughts on that. episode. Like,
It's my favorite
2
of
years on.
them. I just think David shouldn't have been the 14th Doctor. I know they committed to the bit for the 60th anniversary because they couldn't miss that. And Ncuti wasn't available. He was filming Sex Education, wasn't he? Still.
Yeah.
But it just, the way this all leads in, it just feels a bit odd. I think it's the better of the three. I was saying this the other day because I actually put a post out. I don't think Doctor Who's for me anymore, and that's fine. But this just feels like it doesn't feel like, oh, this is a brand new program. And I can understand why people didn't necessarily see this as a jumping on point, because it's there should have been more done narratively with Yasmin Finney and the Meep. Like, I feel if they've set that relationship up at the beginning of the story, as you said, you either have the Meep do a 180 and just be like, oh, it's a side personality. You know what I mean? It's like a switching personality thing.
Exactly, yeah, like flip the switch kind of thing. Yeah,
the good and bad.
Or
like, you have the case where the Meep is a really awful villain to Yasmin Finney regarding her pronouns, like calling her a stupid child. And then she has a great scene at the end where she defeats the Meep, and then obviously it has that narrative that these people, we're all alike in this world, you know what I mean, we're just trying to make our way through it. And it would, I think, for the trans community and the LGBT community, it made them feel more seen, you know what I mean, as true representation. I can see where it feels a bit out of touch now. As a white straight man, that's a bit bold of me to say, and I might be reading it wrong. But from what I understand, Russell writing this, it very much feels like a white, cis, 60-year-old man trying to write online politics that he doesn't quite get.
Well, it's a bit like with Dot and Bubble, like, it's an episode about racism, but it's an episode about racism for and written by a white person and for white people. So it's that perspective thing. I definitely see that, and like I know that some people in that community took issue with it as well, and I can see that. I can understand. It was well intentioned, but some of the execution there, just feels a little bit clunky in the way it was done. Well, look, thank you for watching this, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed getting nostalgic about Star Beast like us. Comment below your thoughts and feelings about this episode. 2 years on, 18 months, whatever it was, in the comments below, and your thoughts on these two as well, Meep, all that kind of stuff. More videos to come to keep you entertained in this Doctor Who drought. But yes, otherwise, I suppose, thanks for watching. Shall I get my this out as well? And so goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.